you saw the movie Pressure. Tell me about it.
Pressure. So there's an interesting trend that I've been seeing for a very long time when it comes to World War II movies. And it's the question of what won the war. And there are dozens upon dozens of movies that show the thing that won the war. For example, the Imitation Game. Well, it was the computer solving the Nazi puzzle was what won the war. A movie came out featuring Marcel Marceau, the famed mime, and that how he was basically a Jewish resistance leader, and how that helped win the war. Then you have Schindler's List, and so how Oskar Schindler was pivotal of not only helping to save Jews from the Holocaust, but also to help end the war. And Pressure is yet another one of those movies that shows us the one single event that helped win the war. And believe it or not, this is about D-Day. And believe it or not, this is about the weather. It's set 72 hours before D-Day. The Allies are in position to storm the beaches of Normandy, and what has happened here is there's this specific date or time period, a very small time period, that they could do D-Day, because there was this elaborate misinformation campaign that the Allies were doing, that the Allied forces were much larger than they were, or that the Allied forces were in different spots around the world than they were. But the thing was, the longer they wait, the more likely the Germans are going to figure out that they're being fooled, and if they don't do D-Day the day they set to do D-Day, all is going to be lost. That the war is going to be over. And so, because of a training snafu that Eisenhower had done to practice for D-Day, where live ammo was being used instead of fake ammo, and a lot of young men died on this training exercise because basically the weather ruined the communication pattern. Eisenhower says, look, we're going to do this, but we need to understand if the weather is going to be on our side or not. One of Eisenhower's meteorologists, Irving Crick, basically says, look, for the last few decades on these dates, the weather has always been great. But then Churchill sends in his best meteorologist, Captain James Stagg, who realizes that the American meteorologist doesn't understand Northern Europe weather, and that even Stagg doesn't know what the weather is going to be. And there are two storms coming in that could really ruin this. And the whole movie is about whether they can do D-Day on the day they set, and whether the weather is going to be in their favor, or if the weather is going to be so bad that they can't do it and therefore lose the war. And so basically, the go, no go, literally in this movie, the go, no go for D-Day rests upon Captain James Stagg, who basically says, no, the weather is just going to ruin everything. And so that's this movie. How did D-Day happen after that? In terms of the movie itself, I found it riveting. I do like World War II movies, the war to end all wars. It's just weird because right at the beginning you realize, oh, this movie's about weather, and all the talk of this movie is about weather. And I think what happens here is it's based on a play by David Haig. It's really well done. He brings the drama in, and you realize the pressure that this one man who is not, he's just a very simple meteorologist. He's not a true captain, a true military captain. He just knows how the weather works and how to predict the weather. And the title Pressure says it all, because the war, essentially, the ability to launch D-Day rests upon this one man's shoulder. And he could just go along and say, go do it. But deep down, he's a scientist, knows, no, the weather is going to work against you. You cannot do it. And that's what this movie is.
I mean, I saw the trailer, and obviously there's a double meaning to title Pressure. I just was not intrigued. I mean, I look, I trust your judgment. It's probably very good, but how much minutia do we need to retell stories to, about past wars or past? I mean, there was that one movie about all the women who did the math for the space program. It's like, how much we know that there are a lot of people who contribute to huge accomplishments, but I just think I feel like when they're doing a World War II movie about the guy who predicted the weather for D-Day, I'm sure it's very good. I just feel like, have we run out of stories when we're going into the? So I'm not really attracted to see it based on the premise, but I will catch it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like World War II movies, and it started with Patton, and brings me here with Eisenhower. Look, there's also there was a comment that Eisenhower made to Kennedy when Kennedy won the presidential election. Eisenhower was the president at that time, and Kennedy asked Eisenhower, how did you pull off D-Day? Or why did D-Day work? And Eisenhower responded, because my meteorologists are better than the Germans, which just shows how important that was. And the other thing, as a Christian, the more I look into these stories about what won D-Day or what won World War II, you realize a lot of things won World War II. And if any one of them hadn't worked, it could have meant a very different world that we're living in today. And, that's just, you got to understand that it was a very complicated time during World War II. And there wasn't going to be one answer. It was going to be a lot of answers and a lot of sacrifice. And I think we're missing that in the world today, this idea of sacrifice and, fighting for one's values and beliefs. And there you go.
Well, you convinced me. I'll go see this film at some point.